This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Alongside the Wednesday Wonderkind, Stephen Simcox. I don't know how long I can call you a Wonderkind anymore.
Yeah, I'm coming up on 32 years old.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you watch Ted Lasso?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, it was kind of a death knell for Nate
It was.
when he was called a Wonderkind.
Did you see they're making another season?
Yeah. I'm excited because I love all those people together, but
Right.
again, they did wrap it up rather nicely. So
They did. It felt like a series finale.
yeah, and I think that's what the plan was. And then Apple was like, "Hey,
Here's some money.
yeah. Do you guys like money?" And they're like, "Love money. Who doesn't?"
Jason Sudeikis was like, I'm not really Ted Lasso. I can be bribed.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure they're pretty good writers, so they'll come up with a.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be bad. It's just will be different.
I wonder, do you have to do like another 3-season arc? Because this was like a whole arc of a story from him coming in to them getting there. Is this the arc of him coming in and help them get to like actually win the thing? I don't know. And what does he do? Because I don't know. That's neither here nor there.
I feel like just now, before we started, it kind of felt like you were my dad and you were talking to me about Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
Because I asked you, Paul and myself are both big Cowboys fans.
Yes.
And I'm about coming into Sunday, I was about as pessimistic as I've ever been about the Cowboys. I think they're going to be horrible. But then they beat the Browns, which Deshaun Watson is bad.
He's terrible.
He's terrible. But I was like, well, hey, maybe, Zeke looked better. And I asked you, I was like, were you impressed at all? And you immediately said no.
Not really. I like the defense. They're good. They're good on defense. I like Zim's defense. I think they've got Eric Kendricks was a really good signing, clearly. DeMarvion Overshown was fantastic. He had 13 tackles, including a couple that were huge, big play stoppers where he kind of came out of nowhere. When Deron Bland's back, that secondary is going to be
Better.
going to be really we haven't seen Deron Bland and Trayvon Diggs together.
I know the two interception kings. Yeah.
These are the guys who are the pick six kings, and they're there. I really like Kalen. I like Kalen Carson last year at Wake Forest. So I like what they have going on defense. I think Cooper Beebe played really well. I think that Tyler Guyton availed himself very well against the best pass rusher in football in Myles Garrett, or at least the best pass rusher in the AFC. No offense, Micah. Maybe he's the best. I don't know. But one of the only other guys who's up there with Micah.
He's a game record.
Yeah, he's a total game record, Myles Garrett. And the Browns should be a good team, except for the fact the roster is really good, except for the fact that Deshaun Watson is not who he was.
Yeah.
That ended on a massage table years ago. And so, their offense was as good as it needed to be, but, I didn't come away going ooh,
Right.
Brandon Aubrey is the best kicker in football right now, which is great. They have all these things going for him, but I've arrived at a place, Stephen, where I could not give a crap less about the regular season. I'll enjoy the games on Sundays as a nice way to watch and relax, but none of it matters to me.
Well,
win something or stop.
That's the thing, is that they've set themselves up now. And this is always how the Cowboys have been to a certain extent, because it's about winning titles.
Yeah.
Even though they haven't done it in my lifetime, really. Well, I was alive, but you know what I mean.
Not much.
Not
very.
much.
Not like you were.
I was a toddler. Yeah.
Yes. Had you were you using a bathroom at this point in 1996, or were you just?
I'd have to ask my parents.
Or the bathroom was where you were.
Yeah, I don't think I was fully. I don't think I was fully potty trained. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to talk to my parents and my therapist about that. But anyway,
I cannot wait for the phone call. Hey,
in
let's say January 27th, 1996. Where was I pooping?
Yeah. You still wiping my butt then?
And they're going to be like, what? Just wondering.
It's
just
important.
for context, historical context.
I just need to know.
Yeah.
but they've done everything you can do in the regular season the last 3 years, and it's just all about the playoffs. It's all about if they can get there and how far can they go. So I was pleasantly surprised, but it's hard to be optimistic about or just even get excited about it when the challenge is still a long way away.
I mean, week one, I've been there. I've been there drinking the Kool-Aid and like, oh boy. I've been there in week 16 and week 18. First week of the playoffs. Like this team is legit. They don't at all have a glaring weakness that most of the teams on their schedule weren't able to exploit. And this team that they're playing in the playoffs knows exactly what it is, and they're going to just call one play right at that all day long. So do I think they fixed their defensive glaring weakness for now, as long as they stay healthy? Yes, which was and this is what bothered me last. Like, they didn't go and sign a street free agent linebacker last year. And they just were like, Marquise Bell, you're a linebacker now. And he's like,
okay,
all right, cool.
Dope.
I'm down for it. Whatever gets me in the game. I'm great. I'm a team player. Let's go do this. And then the Packers were like, they've had a safety playing linebacker. And the only way they really beat people is they make them make mistakes early and they get out on them. And then nobody can run the ball. You can't run the ball for the rest of the game. So let's see what we can do here. And that's what they did, or they play against the 49ers and they're not nearly as physical and tough as the 49ers are, but who is? And then, one player gets hurt and then you find out like, oh, all this little like myth about the Cowboys and their weapons is they have a weapon and one guy who takes pressure off of that, but they're not really what everybody thinks they are. When it comes down to it, when they don't have somebody who can pick up the slack, or they don't have a system that doesn't rely on somebody being just a superstar. But they're not built like the Eagles and the 49ers. To me, the Chiefs are not built for this, but they've never had to experience it. I don't think. Like, if Patrick Mahomes is out for any kind of a stretch, everything's different.
Right.
And defensively they're good, but like the Cowboys are not set up to where they can win unless everything's perfect. The Chiefs can do that. The Cowboys cannot. The 49ers can do that. The Cowboys can't. The Eagles, I think, can do that, although they did hit the wall at the end of last year, but they're adaptive enough, and Kellen Moore's the offensive coordinator there. So I think it'll be different, but yeah. So no, my level of excitement only goes up when there's I only get excited now if there's one playoff win. And then I only get excited to 2/3 of the cup. I go from a half empty guy to it's a third empty. And then I'll never be full cup until I see, Jerry and Steven and whoever the coach is and whoever it is, I knew we could. I made this point yesterday about Deion Sanders, and it's very much the same for Jerry Jones. I think Deion needs to learn this, is you can either win in the way that it takes to win and adapt to that and let go of some of the preconceived notions that you have about how we're going to do this, or you can try and win your way and hope that, you keep winning that little game of whack-a-mole of what issues pop up along the way. And it's been 30 plus years now, this will be 30 years or almost 30 years. It's been almost 30 years and the Cowboys haven't, they always get to the, get to the point where it's like, oh, just these last couple of things. And it's like, oh, you've been avoiding these all season long, but they're better at this than you. And I think that's the other thing that Jerry has not acknowledged, is I think that he believes that they're still the best at it, but unlucky. As where these other teams that keep doing it, they're better at it than you. And if you can admit that they're better at it than you and come up with a cohesive strategy, then you'll be as good at that as them. But the first step in admitting that you're not as good as you think you are is that, is admitting that you're not, or knowing that you're not as good as you think you are is admitting that you're not as good as you think you are.
Were you surprised by, not like the 11th hour and that there was a deadline, but just getting the Dak deal done as the season started?
No, I think that's what Jerry likes. I think he's the kind of guy you take him to Disney World and he's like, listen, this Dumbo ride is for pussies. I don't want to be on this thing. Like, this is dumb. Like, we waited in line for this. Like, let's go. I want something with real risk. Like, take me on something that's fast.
He's going straight to Space Mountain.
Yeah, he's just like, let's go. And then, like, as soon as it's over, he's like, Mom, can we do it again? Like, Tower of Terror. That's what he wants.
Right.
He wants the drop and the pull back up and the drop again because that exhilarates him. But at the, you take him to the log ride, he's like, so what? This is for idiots.
Yeah.
That's where everybody else is like using the whole park.
Yeah. You just like, give me to Animal Kingdom. I want to ride Everest.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go up and down, up and down. That's what he wants to do. And his parents are just there like, all right. All right. Back in the line, and he just gets to it. He has his little drop. All right. We're going to do it again with Micah. So he's back in line, waiting for his thrill ride. And they don't have to do Micah this year, but they also don't have to draw Micah out. Also, Micah has the kind of personality where, like, I do think this will be a bigger deal than Dak or even CD. Like, Dak and CD didn't say much. Like, CD put in a couple of, like, Spider-Man pictures and, like,
Instagram
a laughing
stories.
emoji, and that was it. And then Dak didn't really say anything until the end where he's like, but at that point, I think he knew that they were down to the minutia of it, like where he knew the structure was in place. It was just going to be, all right, well,
let's get these details hammered out.
These little details, like you can bring 4 people a week to the cafeteria,
Right.
Sure. We'll make take-home meals for you. And yes, you can use the helicopter on, Tuesdays and Sundays in the month of March, whatever, but, those kind of things. But yeah, I've stopped being excited about them because I just know where this ends. So I've been like, look, in my single days, I had to learn the hard way. And I think everybody has to learn the hard way of, like, when you think someone likes you and you kind of pursue them, and then, like, you were like, oh man, that was a really great, we had a really good time tonight, I can't wait. And you call them or text them or you do whatever, and you just kind of wait, and you're like, oh, I'm sure they're busy. And then it happens like 3 or 4 more times. You're like, nah, they're not that busy. Like, I'm not.
Yeah, they're just not feeling it.
They're not feeling it. Like, that's where I am. Like, I'll get excited. Like, the Cowboys they've been stringing me along we've been dating for a long time now. They've been stringing me along. I need a ring.
That's right.
I need a ring,
You need to see that commitment.
Oh yeah, I need to see the commitment.
You know what else I've learned this week, Paul?
What's that?
So something that happens here for the show, you're thinking about titles.
Yeah.
And our friend Jack's always like, got to think about the key words.
Yeah.
And so I've learned this week that UCF, we've got a pretty rowdy and large fan base.
You have learned that.
Yes.
Yes. Hold on. Let me see who's in the chat right now.
Which makes sense because I know it's a huge school. And Paul, you went to Orlando last year.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to experience this game last year because TCU didn't play them because of schedule. But now they're coming to Fort Worth early in the season. And yeah, there's a lot of UCF fans.
Are you going to go?
I'll be there Saturday night.
Yeah. Look, I think that's going to be a really fun game, but they've discovered things. We had to teach you some UCF etiquette.
You did. You were telling me don't call them Central Florida.
Yeah.
Or the Golden Knights.
No, they're not that anymore.
Okay.
They're not that anymore. They have changed their company name. So
yeah, I discovered that yesterday because in his press conference, Sonny Dykes said UCF, and a lot of there were UCF fans in the comments that were like, I'm so glad he called us UCF. And I was like, okay, I guess that's a sensitive thing, but good to know. If I don't want to step on toes, or if I do, I know the things to needle there. Yeah, no, those are 2 big things. They're no, like, here's the thing. I knew them as the Central Florida Golden Knights, a commuter school in Orlando. Uh-huh. And I never really gave them, even like covering them when they beat Baylor in the Fiesta Bowl and all these things. I paid
And it was probably rude of me to do this as a unprofessional, but I paid no attention to those little details because in my mind, they were what they always were when I was growing up.
Yes.
A safety school. That is no longer the case and hasn't been the case for actually quite some time. But since I never paid attention,
Yeah, old habits die hard.
old habits that hard.
Narratives form in your mind, and then you just kind of keep them there.
Yeah, exactly. Richard Gere and his gerbil, like those kind of things. He'll never defeat it, even though in no way is it true.
Right.
But, or maybe it was at one point now.
Now it's not.
No, it's not. But so that was how I always perceived it. And, when you're in college and that, like, it had actually started like right after I got out of college, they had started to like, hey, we need to really make this place, there's a lot of, this is a big school. There's a lot of alumni. We can, let's make it one of the bigger schools. Let's make it one of the better schools for a great many things. Let's really, take advantage of where we are and who we are and what we can do. And they did that. And, because I'm a Tallahassee snob, I'm like, okay.
Good luck, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Little Disney World University. All right. Have fun down there in Orlando, and I have friends like FSU grads in Orlando. Also, this is going on right under their noses. And like, all it took was reading the paper one day and they'd be like, you don't care, like, so it was very snobby behavior. And then they've turned around and turned into this like really good, viable athletic department unit, like a huge university with like tons of awesome stuff going on. It's an absolutely beautiful campus. It's an awesome campus. It's a great game day atmosphere. I can say no bad things about UCF. Like, I maybe like the parking sucks, but I don't know because both days I went there, they gave me a parking pass to park close to where we were going to be. So, I mean, I had like Jack went with me. Like we had no complaints. Like it was pretty easy. Like we parked game day. We parked like right by the stadium. It was pretty badass. I mean, again, no complaints. So yeah, I apologize to UCF fans for ignoring
their progress
for so long. Even in the wake of watching them absolutely house Baylor in Phoenix, Arizona in 2014. Yeah.
No, it should be a fun game this weekend. I think both teams are just looking to prove themselves. Like they've played pretty light schedules so far. And UCF has been really good with RJ Harvey and KJ Jefferson and their other running backs that have been effective. And so TCU with their new defense is going to get a chance to stop that. UCF will to see if they can slow down Josh Hoover in this passing attack. But a lot of athletes all over the field, Paul. And I think whoever wins this game can take a step forward in that discussion of kind of the tier right below the contenders in this league of like, okay, here's a team that can make some noise if they can go on a run here and stay healthy. And then the loser has some ground to make up. But yeah, I mean, Gus Malzahn, Sonny Dex, it'll be fun to see them match up.
Yeah. Look, Josh Hoover is pretty good. Like I think we've seen that for the first couple weeks, although that Stanford game was, I know,
it was closer than expected.
Yeah.
But they made the plays when they had to.
Yeah. But like, I know that was kind of like, the first part of that game was like, what is happening? Although, Stanford, to their credit, does have one of the best, like Eric Ayamanior is fantastic. They still got some good players. They're just not the new world of college athletics has affected Stanford in ways that I bet you they probably didn't ever
think about.
I mean, like Stanford itself is a huge reason that the Pac-12 doesn't exist anymore because they were just like, no. This is not how things work.
This industry's not going to collapse.
And then somebody said like, yeah, but you guys, like, don't you want to be, we're Stanford. We'll be competitive and everything all the time. You see this endowment? Do you see how much we're endowed? Yeah. How many people go to your football games? We'll buy them. Doesn't matter. We're Stanford, Silicon Valley.
We'll invent robots to put in the stands.
Silicon Valley. You heard of it? Silicon Valley. You been there? It's right near our campus. We're pretty much the garden of Silicon Valley. We're Stanford. Okay. We don't need your little things. And then like all of a sudden the Pac-12's over and Stanford's like, we need a thing.
We would like to join the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Yeah. And then they're like, Cal, what do you think? And they're like, look, man, peace and love. I'll go whatever coast you want me to go to, man. I'm cool just as long as we all, hold hands and sing Kumbaya in the share circle at the end of the meetings.
That's right.
I'm good. I'm Cal, and I'm feeling a little persecuted by Florida State and Clemson right now. Just a little bit attacked, like I'm not worth much to them. And Florida State and Clemson are like, yeah, you're really not.
That's who Hugh Freeze lost to this week.
Yeah.
Who's that guy?
Yeah. And Stanford just sitting there like, hello, Duke. Who are these other people here? Should we talk to them? Do you talk to them?
Can we compare research notes?
Georgia Tech, come over here, Georgia Tech. What do you guys think of these state schools? Are they as dumb as the ones in California? I'm sure they are. These southern bumpkins with their silly tomahawk chops and rocks that they touch. What is a Tar Heel anyway?
We need Dabo to talk to these people.
Yeah. The name, image, and likeness of the god. Oh, pish posh. But please help us. We're desperate. No, for UCF and TCU, one of my favorite games of the week, just because it is such a proving ground game for both of them. Like, who are you going to be in the Big 12? And I don't think it's going to be a blowout either way that happens. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think that if they can keep KJ Jefferson efficient and kind of building in that offense and comfortable and just making plays when he has to, and get some guys loose. Again, TCU has a new defense. We'll see how good it really is. Like, obviously, they played better against Long Island than Baylor did a year ago, but still it was Long Island.
Yeah, it's Long Island.
Yeah. If you would like to see Steven's interview with the Long Island coach, it's up
on
for
my
giggles.
page.
It's up on his YouTube page.
That's right. Yeah.
Locked on Horn
Ron
Frogs.
Cooper, nice guy.
Yeah. So if you want to see that, it's there for last week. I wish you could have recorded like all of the conversation you had with him.
Very honest guy.
What you told me, he seems like he's kind of a funny dude.
He's a funny guy.
Yeah. So we haven't really seen TCU's had to prove it. UCF has played Sam Houston State and New Hampshire. So this is their first test of the season. Can they do it? Like, when you make mistakes in this game, they're going to actually hurt you, as opposed to Sam Houston State and New Hampshire. It's just like, oh, well, we'll have the ball back in a couple minutes. Don't worry about it. It's just one of those things. But this is a game where it's going to be tough. I remember I was on a UCF podcast a couple weeks ago, and the host was like, oh, I'm a huge Cowboys fan. We're going to go to the Cowboys game, and, we're going to take in my son, and we're doing all this stuff. Like, please give me places to go. So I sent him the list. Like, I kind of gave him the what Amanda really loves Fort Worth. She loves it. And what you need to do when you're there, so you can say, I've done Fort Worth. Like, you got to go down to the stockyards.
Yes.
I suppose you can go to Joe T's, although I feel like the quality of Joe T's has gone down as the outside world has found out about it. I gave him some other good places to go. You've always, had a couple good places in mind, because I've texted you before when I'm going up there, like, hey, give me a cool spot in Fort Worth, and
yeah, it's an awesome place, and it's like everywhere else in the Metroplex is just growing all the time. Yeah, so there's just more and more stuff, but it's gonna be fun, and I'm excited to see both teams just get a chance to kind of show off their talent, because I think there's a lot of talent there. It's just about who's gonna organize it better and have a better game plan. So. And it was a weird, and we'll get into this later, but it was a super weird week for the Big 12 last weekend. So it does feel like the league is pretty wide open right now, maybe aside from Utah, but a lot of that depends on Cam Rising and what his health is going to look like moving forward.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. You mentioned Utah and Cam Rising. Like, how bad is his finger? Like how long does this kind of hang around? I wonder about that a lot.
Yeah, I do too. I guess if it's a nagging thing, then that really affects and limits what you can do, but they're so good defensively. But you can tell, like, with him out of the game, that offense just looked pretty hapless. And so it's a completely different Utah team. So they need him on the field to really do what they want to do this year.
How much of a, for TCU in particular, this UCF game, how much do you feel it's like a fulcrum game for them? Like, where this could shift, like, where they're going to be or expose some things.
Yeah, I think the next 2 weeks are pretty critical. I mean, you get this, and then you play SMU on the road. SMU will have a bye week. They've It looks like they've decided where they're going to go at quarterback now.
Mhm.
Preston Stone is getting benched essentially for Jennings, who's going to take over. But if you can start the season 4-0 going into that Kansas game on the road, then I really like their chances of maybe being a contender, because we'll see what Kansas looks like bouncing back from that Illinois loss. But they're still getting accustomed to a new offense. They really struggled against the Illini, so suddenly it feels like there's some more manageable games on the schedule. But you have to win. You have to win these key swing games right now. And if you end up 2-1, I mean, you can bounce back next week. But 0-1 in conference play, like, not that it's insurmountable, but it's just I think it would be a big, I guess, disappointment for them. And then how do you sort of get that mentality back throughout the rest of the season? Because we've seen in the past, like when TCU's had an early loss, and I think UCS a good team. I wouldn't put this in that category, but like Colorado last year, like it really seemed like it just almost tanked the year. Like once they lost that ball game, in the end of the Gary Patterson era, they lost a couple times to SMU, and it was like that was okay. Maybe we're not that good, and then all of a sudden people start fighting, and there's some things going on. But if you can start 4-0, then I think that's a big springboard to what you could end up doing throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, and look, it's because after that they at Kansas gonna be tough. I think Kansas will probably bounce back. They were very that was very disappointing last week. What happened? I don't really know who Houston is.
They hung with Oklahoma Saturday.
They hung with Oklahoma. I think that probably says more about Oklahoma. Garrett, are you on that where that says more about Oklahoma than it does about Houston?
Probably so. I think Oklahoma's got more concerns and bigger issues as they head into the SEC. So I think that's more on more on Oklahoma and who they really are.
Yeah. They do, like, TCU has a nice balance of like tough games. Like SMU is going to be tough, even though like they don't really look all that great right now, because this is the last time they're going to play for a little bit. Right. And then
2 more years.
Okay.
But I think going with a QB, like just having a clear direction, is going to help them a lot on offense. Like just stopping that musical chairs will at least give them an identity on offense.
Yeah. I'm still shocked that Preston Stone's that bad.
Yeah. Me too.
Like he didn't look that bad when he played before. He just right now it's looking like he's lost out there. But at Utah it's going to be very, very tough.
Yeah.
Texas Tech, it comes home and back.
Who knows?
I mean, like Texas Tech, that's at home. That's the homecoming game. And
right.
Nice pick. I'll tell you right now, it looked like a nice pick given what's going on at Tech.
Yeah, Tech looks lost right now, man.
Yeah, they look lost. All right, let's dive into the rest of week 3 in the Big 12. When we come back, let's take our first break. This is 365 Sports, the triple option.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the triple option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Paul Catalina, Steven Simcox, the Wednesday Wonderkind.
That's right.
Here with us. Back on Wednesday. Last week you were here on Thursday.
I think it was for 2 weeks I was here.
2 weeks on Thursday. It was just
I betrayed the people.
It's just upside. The whole world's been upside down. The wheel's coming up next. We're gonna play fraud or not fraud. We still I had too much to do to really get the part on the wheel.
It. Yeah, it's okay.
It's football season, man.
You're busy.
Got a lot.
You got a life to live, man.
Got a life to live.
Can't be worried and concerned about parts on a wheel.
Yeah. Now maybe this week, one thing that consumes the better part and the more joyous part of my life. My wife will be on vacation with my mom. They're going on a cruise together with some of my other family down to Mexico and the Bahamas. So I won't have honeydew things to do, really. Other than what if she leaves?
Do you already have a plan on what you're going to do?
Look,
is there food involved?
It is. Well, every time she leaves, it's a whole, like, the menu is comprised of things that she doesn't allow me to make because she doesn't like them. She's
right.
You know, she is a very limited, like, you know, like I eat seafood. Like it's a special occasion food for me. And I don't ever cook it when she's in the house because dear God, she'll just be, I don't like the smell. Blah, blah, blah. You know, my dream, I said this on the show the other day, outdoor kitchen, like where I can just hose things down and cook whatever I want outside. She doesn't have to like look at it until it comes inside, and I can just, I don't have to adhere to the standards of the Michael Jordan of clean who I married. I can still be clean, but it's not like
there's not somebody there all the time.
It's not the end of the world of like where I sit down and she's like, there's a spoon in the sink. I'm like, yeah, but I mean, like I'm eating something else. Like I'll get it when I get this other spoon. Like, okay. That's not how you win championships.
I didn't know we were giving up in the Catalina house.
Yeah, exactly. Like, all right. I mean,
guess we're just packing it in.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. So I will make some jambalaya this week. And probably last time I made did I give you some last time, Garrett?
I think so. I believe you did.
Yeah. I guess some of you, who wants jambalaya in here? There we go. Yes. We're going to make a whole crap load of jambalaya.
Be passing it out in the studio.
Yeah, no, I'm thrilled. I'll get my big pot out and go to town. These are
things you can do. Yeah.
Yeah. And with my outdoor kitchen, I would be able to wash that out without like it being in the inside sink,
right?
Which is apparently hallowed ground. It might as well have a historical marker on it. Like a Civil War battle was fought there, and I'm not respecting it enough. But so yeah, I have a plan.
Okay.
So I'll probably, I don't know. So Saturday, here's the problem on Saturday. She leaves on Saturday morning before, like, she'll get up and leave. I'll get up and shower and come here and do the pregame show. And then after that, I could theoretically come back here and go to the Baylor game in the evening. LSU plays at 11. Florida A&M is at 2:30. And then there's like a couple games right at 6 o'clock after that I feel like YouTube TV is going to look really good sitting in the four corners there. So I don't think I'm going to make it to the Baylor Air Force game because I don't trust myself to just be alone in my house with 7 hours to kill before a game and not drink all the beer that's there.
Yeah, that's
without adult supervision, like
right.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Look, I'd be thumbing my nose at the husband gods if I did anything else.
This is like the Home Alone kid. Just got
You know what? I truly believe women grow up. Men just grow older.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Like women grow up. We can be more mature and deal with things differently.
But at our core.
Ultimately, like if you just told honestly, given you if one of your kids liked one of the things that you liked when you were a kid, like for me, it would be like I was really, because video games weren't quite there yet. But I was like super into action figures. If I had like a kid that was like really into action figures and it was just me and the kid in the house, it'd be like, fire up the Star Wars action figures. Let's go. And I would probably still have fun doing it. Like even at 44 years old, because you're like, Garrett, you're nodding your head.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like Garrett, your son is 11, right?
He's 11.
He's 11. Okay. He's 11. How much joy do you take in like getting to do the little goofy kid things with him? And then you realize like I'm having as much fun as the 11-year-old who this activity was designed for.
It's really it's wild because I take great joy in that. And I think going back to like probably creating ramps and showing him how to jump his cars on ramps and just, cause these big wrecks and stuff. He thoroughly enjoys that, and I do as well.
Yeah, because you're like, no, wait, listen. I know.
Show you how
let me show you how it's done.
I've got experience.
And then you're sitting there like, woo, this is awesome, honey. This is great, right? And like, sure,
just
whatever.
Break.
Just clean it up. just we can pick up our toys.
Yeah.
40-year-old man.
Yeah, my wife sometimes doesn't tell me like you have to share the remote control car with your 3-year-old. I'm like, well, he doesn't know how to drive it. Like he runs
doesn't
into
have
the
his
couch.
license yet. Like what are you doing? Like
he always gets it stuck. I have to go get it.
Yeah.
It's better if he just watches me do it.
Yeah. I remember like we're having this discussion is I'm eventually going to get a PS5.
Mhm.
I'm going to do it. And she's like, when will you have time? I'm like, it doesn't matter when I
This
do.
weekend.
Yeah. When I do, I will play it. That's the thing. And she's like, but I've never seen you play video games. I'm like, yeah, because you came in.
Yeah.
I was in a transitional period of like video games.
I'm putting on the front. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I got too far down the road. Plus, college football wasn't back out yet. Now the universe has spoken to me, and I feel incumbent upon me as a college football podcaster to join the club. It would be irresponsible of me not to play it.
I think this is
That excuse does not work at all.
I think this is the weekend. This weekend, get the PS5, Paul.
Can I rent one? I feel like if I
Just
rented
to try
one,
it out.
that way I could rent it for the week and then take it back before she even knew. Because like if it lived there forever, she'd be like, how much does the PS5 cost? I'd be like, I don't know.
What?
How much it like I can Google it. You might as well just tell me. Oh God, well, I got a deal.
Honey, you can't put a price tag on happiness.
Yeah. Yeah. Feels like you had something under the main TV here. Oh no, sorry about your palm front thing. I rage quit through a remote control, through a controller. It happens. I'll get you another thing. But yeah, no, I think that because we do, like, I find myself like in the days, I think like, you know what, I'm really adulting the hell out of it today.
Hmm.
Then I'll like be home alone for like a little bit and like flip on and be like, ooh, Superman.
Did anybody in here play like backyard sports games when they were a kid on like the PC, like baseball or football?
Baseball's coming back.
Yes, it is. Did you ever play this ball?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so it's coming back, and I still have like, actually during the pandemic, Greg Tepper, our friend from Texas football, he like streamed him playing backyard baseball because he was just like, hey, we got nothing to do, right? And so I was like, hey, how'd you do that? And he helped me get it set up. But then I found out it's coming back, and I'm excited about it. I don't know what system it's going to be on or any of those things, but
That doesn't even matter.
it doesn't.
No. I mean, the fact that it's coming
it's just back.
Yeah. No, we talked about this. I don't know if we talked about it on air or off air last week when we were in here, but there are 4 dudes in here, right? 5 dudes. Okay. If you just locked us in a room and told us that we had to entertain ourselves with the stuff that's in this room, we would do it.
Mm-hmm.
You've gender flipped that, and it would be like, oh, God, we would figure out a way. We'd be bored for a little bit, and then we'd invent a game.
Oh, yeah.
Because men don't.
Garrett and I would have these helmets on, just doing one-on-ones in no time.
Yeah.
Oklahoma drill, baby.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, that's it. We take the cushions off the chairs and like have like, build a fort. I don't know. Like, again, don't grow up. Nope. We don't. The minute any of us get a chance to just go back and do that thing, the acceptable excuse, man, do you know how many superhero, like I like super, like every people, like it's now in the mainstream, but like early on before it wasn't, do you know how many like taking my nephews to a superhero movie and like I enjoyed it as much or more than they did. And then like we'd be in the car and they'd be like, hey, so I was like, well, it wasn't totally comic book accurate, but it was close. I like the adaptation. And then I'm like, do I like Captain America more than Luke does? I think I do. I really like the nuanced political intrigue structure of the movie. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm a child.
I'm glad they could take you to that movie.
Yeah.
You're like, this for our uncle.
Yeah.
We're just
yeah.
here.
Had to bring the kids, and like you see somebody and like, yeah, me too. Kids, where are you, kids? Like, yeah, I don't know how to bring them.
I brought them.
I've been to a couple movies, like, yeah, I had to bring the kids. And then like I just go sit someplace and like hope they don't see that I just went because I had to see it. So
listen, Minions 4 is pretty good.
Yeah. All right. Rest of the Big 12 rapid fire this week. Steven, there are like Kansas State and Arizona is super interesting.
Yes.
Baylor and Air Force would be to me like I'm interested, but I think that Air Force lost too many starters from last year's team. Like if this was last year's Air Force team, I think Baylor would have to be a lot more worried. Is there anything that jumps out at you?
Yeah, Arizona and Kansas State's going to be fun. I think Arizona's probably better than they, showed last week against Northern Arizona, even though they struggled. But, we talked about, I think Tech fans are a little too pessimistic. I've seen some thought that they could lose to North Texas, and I just don't feel like that's. I know they struggle with Abilene Christian, and I know what happened against Washington State, but I just feel like if this team has any sort of pulse, then they should handle business against Chandler Morris and company, and they'll get the backyard brawl with West Virginia and Pitt. What do you think about that game, Paul?
I don't know what to think about Pitt. And I still don't know what to think about West Virginia. They just laid an egg against Penn State, and then Penn State went out and had to play all 4 quarters against Bowling Green. So I don't know what any of that means.
Right.
I don't know what any of it means. But I think West Virginia will be better. I think West Virginia wins the game. But I don't know enough about Pitt. Pitt, fought back to beat Cincinnati, who should have never really lost that game. But they did. I don't know if Eli Holstein, this is a guy who is one of the top recruited quarterbacks in the country. He committed to A&M and then he committed to Alabama, and now he's at Pitt. Maybe he is that good. I don't know, but there's that one. I really don't know what to think of yet.
Yeah,
I really don't know. I need to see them both play.
This is a sneaky good week. 2 other games that is not going to make the national conversation, but Arizona State has been surprisingly good. They get Texas State on Saturday, which will be okay. I mean, can the Sun Devils get to 3-0? Texas State's coming off that big one against UTSA. And then UNLV and Kansas trying to bounce back after that loss last week, and they get one of the best G5 teams in the country on Friday night with what UNLV does.
Yeah. That's going to be a tough one. That's going to be a tough one for them. UNLV has already beaten one Big 12 team and beaten them badly.
Right.
Kansas might be reeling a little bit. This is, I believe, their last game at Children's Mercy. I think the next ones will all be at Arrowhead. They might have one more at Children's Mercy, but now that they're going to be playing, they'll play TCU at Arrowhead and all that. So that is a big one. I think Kansas State and Arizona, are these teams legit? Are we going to find that out? I would worry about North Texas if I was Texas Tech, because Chandler Morris feels he looks pretty comfortable in offense.
Yeah, he's a good QB, or good for that team.
Yeah. You can see you're clearly done with him.
Yes, I
have been for quite some time.
I have been for a while.
But yeah, Colorado State will be interesting to see if it's Colorado State. Can they do what they did last year and take them down to the wire? Colorado just doesn't look good at all. So
no, they don't.
They don't look good to me at all. I mean, they have good parts, but they're not a good whole together. All right, when we come back, the wheel from the Wednesday Wonderkind.
That's right.
Or as Jack said, the Grand Wizard, since you clearly were a D&D guy. No?
I wasn't, no.
Oh, that's a KKK thing.
Oh, it is. I thought it was Grand Dragon. Oh, why would he be that?
It was a joke.
Oh, sorry. Oh, dang. Sorry, Steven.
I'm definitely not either of those.
No,
things.
definitely not. Absolutely sorry. I thought it was a D&D thing.
Are we in commercial?
What are the ranks in D&D? I don't know.
I have no clue.
Yeah. Anybody? D&D? Anyone?
Nope. Sports guys, Paul.
Yeah. I don't know. So there. Sorry about that.
That's all right, Paul.
Yeah. I just had a smoky moment. That was a bad smoky moment. I thought that for a second, no. Their ranks are like dragon or something. Or maybe they have dragons and wizards. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't really fully process.
I don't know what the racist hierarchy is.
I didn't fully process what you said for a minute.
Yeah. I just know that there's sheets and stupid names and hatefulness. That's what I know about it. Well, that was bad. Let's go to break and get to the wheel.
Fantasy Sports EVO, the next evolution of daily fantasy sports. Tired of traditional fantasy sports where you spend hours upon hours studying individual players? EVO's unique team-based platform makes it easier than ever for all sports fans to play. No need to know individual players. Just choose your contest, select your teams, and enjoy the game. Whether you access our website from a desktop, mobile device, or the app, the experience is the same. EVO is for all sports fans. Join Fantasy Sports EVO and experience the evolution.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
A Wikipedia dive into the rankings of the KKK does kind of confirm my thing where I got confused. Grand Dragon is below Grand Wizard. So, man, this is a really ornate way to hate people. So,
Man. All right. Well, there you go.
All right.
The more you know.
Yeah. So that's why I was confused. Maybe that's been their whole cover this time. Oh, no. We're just playing dorky games.
Did we find out about Dungeons and Dragons, what the difference is?
Yeah. Maybe that was their front and it just got taken over by the dorks. Like, oh, we lost it. Great.
We didn't trademark that.
We should be more litigious. So let's get to the wheel before I embarrass myself any further. But Jack got me. He got me good.
He did. He got you.
Yeah. No. I apologize to anybody who might be triggered from that. But, you know.
That was Ron Burgundy on the teleprompter.
It was absolutely Ron Burgundy on the teleprompter. D&D just has numbered levels, Paul. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you. Level 1, level 2, etc. All right. I mean, there's wizards and dragons and shit in there, but
Yep.
that's why I thought that.
We're going to play a different game now. That doesn't have anything to do with any organizations mentioned during the show. It's called Fraud or Not a Fraud.
Okay. Fraud or not a fraud?
Fraud or Not a Fraud.
Yeah.
What's that thing when somebody calls you? It's like fraud alert shows up on your caller ID.
Yeah, fraud alert.
Fraud
Okay.
alert. Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing a little fraud alert today. We're talking about teams that have struggled early.
Yeah.
And Paul, you'll just tell me
Yeah.
what you think. We'll kind of get into it here. So we'll start with, I feel like I know your answer based on that Colorado State preview, but the Colorado Buffaloes.
Total fraud. Absolute fraud. They have nothing up front. They're not going to change anything to do up front. They've got a bad scheme. Dion's adherence to NFL coaches is hurting him right now. He doesn't have the talent up front. You've got to develop talent over time, especially on the lines. Like if you need a guard, go get a guard. But if you need 2 guards, 2 tackles, and a center, you don't have a line.
Right.
If you need 2 defensive ends and 2 defense tackles and 2 linebackers, you don't have it. So moving 45 players out the door and moving 45 new ones in, and that's not like an Alabama or Georgia graduating 20 guys to the NFL in a dominant championship season. Like, you know, Michigan last year, like part of the reason they're struggling now is they put like 13 guys in the NFL off that team that all made it, I think of like, there are teams like 2013 FSU, 2001 Miami, 05 USC, 05 Texas, that like all 22 starters like made it to the NFL, like, which is just crazy. Like Michigan might have that, like one of the guys that are left over from last year's team and this year, probably all 22 starters going to be in the NFL. That's not the case for the Colorado team. Like you didn't lose a bunch of guys to the NFL. They've lost maybe 1 or 2 that were NFL guys. And again, none of them jump off the top of your head. Now they're going to lose 3 or 4 NFL guys this year, but they're not necessarily replacing them with other NFL guys. And yeah, I think they're a total fraud.
What do you feel like happens now when Shedeur leaves? I mean, are you in the camp that like Dion moves on? I know we talked about him getting a different job, like a better job. I'm not sure that opportunity comes open for him, like unless they improve. So like, what do you think the next move is? Do you feel like he stays and tries to build this thing?
I think that's what he should do. But I'm curious to see how he feels about coaching when he didn't make the quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's the thing. It's going to be like, he thinks it's hard now and he's got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Wait until like that guy does not have your DNA. That's going to be real hard. And he's only coached teams that Shedeur was his quarterback. Prime Prep, Shedeur was his quarterback. Jackson State, Shedeur was his quarterback. Colorado, Shedeur was his quarterback. So he's never lived a life where that was a reality. outside of, when Shedeur got hurt last year and they had to play the backup, but that was a temporary situation.
Right.
And I still think Shedeur should have left after last year. He would have been a first round pick no matter what. Like, he would have been picked before Bo Nix would have been. And Bo Nix, I like Bo Nix. I'm just saying, probably would have been picked before Bo Nix and before Penix. So, but he wanted to be the number one. Like, he's got, if you want to talk about the apple in the tree, he's got his father's ego, but maybe not his father's work ethic. Because he didn't have to have it,
Right.
I'm not blaming, I don't think Deion's I think Deion's actually probably he seems like a pretty good parent. It's just like, I know where Deion grew up and I know where Shedeur grew up, and it's very different.
Different places.
So it's different, like different challenges, different things. And sometimes you have to fail in order to succeed later. And I think that's what Shedeur is experiencing now, where he hadn't before. And so the last couple of years are harder, and he's shown an immense lack of maturity in a lot of these things. But I don't think that could last. I think that you can grow out of that. I think that's unfair for people to say he's always going to be this way. No, you're not always the way you were when you're 22. You're just not. But I think that they've got problems, and eventually I do think that there's a risk that Shedeur is going to be like, look, I can't risk this anymore. I'm opting out.
Yeah. Okay, our next team, Garrett. I'm sorry, LSU. Paul, fraud or not a fraud?
Who?
LSU.
Fraud.
Garrett says fraud. Garrett says fraud. I'm going to take it from him. I like a lot of things about them, but there are things, they're a little bit built like the Cowboys are, where they have things that they're really good at, but they clearly have things that they're missing, which I don't know how in the state of Louisiana, where really the two states I would go for running backs are Florida and Louisiana before anything else. They just kind of turn them out, and mostly because they still run offenses that feature the running back a little bit more in Louisiana and Florida. In the state of Louisiana, where countless unbelievable running backs have come out of, Warwick Dunn, Leonard Fournette, Dalton Hilliard, like great college running back. There's a bunch that I can't even get into, but how you cannot happen into one of them, blows my mind. And how all of a sudden, where you would have 4 NFL running backs on that roster and 0 even CFL quarterbacks. Now you have Garrett Nussmeier's an NFL guy. I think he's proven that he's an NFL guy. I don't know to what level, but he's really good. He's got really good wide receivers. He's got 2 really good tight ends, great offensive line, but their running backs just aren't good. And I don't know how that happened. And then you look at good linebackers, good defensive line. All of a sudden, Dave Aranda's gone. No secondary. This is the place that turned out the Honey Badger and Patrick Peterson and Mo Claiborne and Grant Delpit. And I don't know how does this happen at LSU? Those are the things that were automatic, and now for some reason under this new regime, they're not. They say what you will about any of the other coaches, Edo, Les Miles. They were 21 for 22. You know what? No, they had good kickers and punters too. They were good kick returners and everything. So if you talk about 25, 26 people who were starters, they were both 25 for 26 every year. And if you could have rotated what that one thing was, they would have won a lot more. But the thing is, it was 25 for 26 every year, and it was always the quarterback. Now their roster's about, let's just say 18 for 26. And those 8 are clearly secondary, maybe a rush end that they don't have, although they have Harold Perkins, and running backs who are just evading. I don't know. It's weird.
They're also really banged up, right, Garrett?
Well, you're missing some receivers right now. You lost your defensive tackle in Gullery for the year as well. But, dude, I think the biggest thing for me is the offensive line and all that hype when you have Will Campbell and Emory Jones supposed to be your anchoring this unit is completely getting blown up. They're not getting any pressure. They're not pushing people off the line of scrimmage. And it's just defenses. I think USC laid out the perfect way to defend LSU, where you don't allow them to have any, don't let their big plays down the field, make everything go underneath to Taylor, and you could beat them because they can't run the ball. And now they're just kind of like stuck in motion, man.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they adjust now. ACC wise, Clemson, Paul, fraud or not a fraud?
I think I'm not going to say I don't think they're a fraud. I just think they're not
what they used to be.
They're not what they used to be. I don't think their roster is built to where it can sustain what it was. And I think that was, look, even though Georgia's going to be better than almost everybody that they play, like a step ahead, Clemson was clearly 4 steps behind them. They should just be a step behind them. Like if you were doing what you used to do, if you were competing and you were getting the kind of talent in, that game, would have only been 34-3 if you had massive injuries, which they did not. And so completely healthy, they lost to Georgia by 31 points. So they're 31 points behind the best team in the country. When Dabo was at his peak, they were at best a touchdown behind that team. They're way past that now. I don't want to call them a fraud because I think they're probably should go 8-4, 9-3. That's a good season, but it's not a good season by Clemson standards and what they want to do. Yeah. I don't think ACC is getting one team in the playoff. I mean, they're not getting 2. It's probably going to be Miami. Like the only way Florida State gets in is they win they have to win 11 games in a row, which includes the championship game. I don't see that from this team with DJU as the quarterback. And he's going to roll out there against Memphis this week, and I think that might be his last shot because if they start 0-3, there's no reason to put DJ back there. So with Cade Klubnik, they're stuck with Cade Klubnik. It's not going to be Christopher Vizina. Because they don't have that kind of depth that they used to. It's Cade Klubnik or die for the rest of the year for them, and they better hope he stays healthy.
Okay, coming off a big upset loss, Notre Dame, Paul, fraud or not a fraud? Coming off that Northern Illinois loss.
Notre Dame's a fraud. You shouldn't. If you're the number 5 team in the country, that shouldn't be a thing that happens. And no disrespect to Northern Illinois, they played their hearts out. They played really well, but Notre Dame, you're paying that much for a transfer quarterback. You're not really running an offense that's the best for him, and he's a really good player. He's not as great as everybody says he is, but he's a gamer. You'd want Riley Leonard on your squad, but you got to run a Riley Leonard offense. They weren't doing that the other day. They're not playing to their strengths. Now, their schedule's not that tough on the way out, but I do think that right now USC is going to beat them. That game against FSU is a toss-up. It's in South Bend, but Northern Illinois proved that doesn't matter. So there's things on the schedule where things that I thought were automatic. I think they're going to have, this is a team that was expected to be at least 12th in the playoff. I think they'll probably finish about 20th. If their schedule holds out the way it should. I don't think they're going to be 11-1 or 10-2.
Do you think a 1-loss Notre Dame team gets in, Garrett?
Yeah.
If the 1-loss Northern Illinois?
Man, I don't know. I think you're going to have too many teams, probably, unfortunately, from the SEC who can block that out. I think they kind of slipped up and missed their opportunity, especially if A&M turns out to be a disaster.
Yeah.
Then that win means nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Paul, that's our Wednesday wheel segment. What's on the big show today?
The big show. Did you have any others I can do in 2 minutes?
The only other one I had, they're 2-0, but Arizona has had trouble with their
I don't incomplete. We'll see after this week how good they are.
All right.
Because they're going to Manhattan, Kansas, and they are going to be in for a crowd. And I know that their fans are all in it now, but this is Arizona being in front of big crowds with a chance to win is a new thing. Yeah. It's a new thing. So
in football,
yeah, we'll see. Yeah. they're experiencing, they in Kansas are in real time experiencing kind of the same thing. Kansas a little bit ahead of them, but it's probably been weird for some of the football players who were there when they the guys who are 5th and 6th year guys at Kansas right now that were there right as Leipold got there, and then they're oh, there's people here. What? Oh, hey, that hot girl from my class came. Awesome. Oh man, she said no so many times. I'm glad we're good again. Holy cow. I couldn't have gotten laid in a monkey whorehouse with a bag of bananas before. Holy Lord. Today on the show, we got Pod 1, which is TCU, Texas Tech, Baylor, and Oklahoma State, and our Big 12 weekly preview. John Kurtz from Kansas City Radio Network jumps on with us. Mark Daniels voice of UCF Athletics, will be with us. And Zach Gelb, Infinity Sports Network, that used to be CBS Sports Network, but Zach Gelb, national host. He's on for his weekly segment at 5 o'clock. And a couple of months ago, Smokey recorded an interview with Grant Taff about the Miracle on the Brazos game, which is being honored this week at the Baylor Air Force game. That team, 50 guys, are all coming back. So we're going to run that interview again because it's relevant to this week for sure. And it's a really great interview. Coach Taff has so many great memories of that. And then, of course, my top 5, which is top 5 Big 12 questions today. So that's coming up on the big show. Steven, I love you. I'm sorry I might have you might get some like calls now. Like, I heard you're interested. Like,
I know.
No.
If I get canceled, I guess I know who to point to now.
Yeah. Do you have a Crate and Barrel near you? There's, they've got a great deal going on sheets. I know. We have a coupon code. No, I don't think Crate and
I'll
Barrel
pass.
give coupon codes out to hateful organizations. But yeah, Jack, congratulations for getting me like that and forcing me into an old man moment, which is going to, not the fact that I got, like the fact that I didn't think, I thought about it. I thought like, yeah, isn't that like a KKK thing? And then I was like, no, it's because he was talking about like video games and stuff. He's like talking about Dungeons and Dragons. And then no, that wasn't how it was.
I can proudly say I haven't been involved in either organization.
And right now there's some D&D people going, hey,
Don't lump us in with
what are
this.
you talking about?
We're just minding our business.
Yeah, we're just here with like, gnomes and elves and
Yeah.
stuff. And,
We're not trying to be those kind of wizards.
yeah, no, that's terrible. All right, that's going to do it for us. We'll see you in an hour.